Present.
Councillor Verbanovic,
Present.
Councillor Jaworski,
Here.
Councillor Clark,
Present.
Councillor Lawrence, Chair Jowett,
Here.
Councillor Erb,
Present.
Councillor Nowak,
Here.
Councillor Kiefer,
Here.
Councillor McGarry, Councillor Armstrong,
Present.
Councillor Harris,
I'm here.
Councillor Shantz,
Here.
Councillor Strickland,
Here.
Councillor Foxton,
Present.
and Councillor Galloway.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather virtually, actually, for real today, and is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contributions to our community. I'll seek for any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And seeing none, there are no presentations here. There are no delegations. And we have a consent agenda item. Do we wish to remove this consent agenda item or remove it? This is the time to do so. Is that where we are in all this? No acknowledge for removing. We will now receive and approve the consent agenda items. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Foxton, seconded by Chair Redmond. All those in favor? So be it. And that is carried. We are looking at the 8.1 strategic focus, responsive and engaging communities, engaging public service. And the report before us is listed. Oh, that's consent. I apologize. So we're right to the thriving economy. Yeah, I felt like I was part of a sitcom this morning. It started really early. Thank you. So thriving economy, and we are looking for a plan and financial update. So I'm going to call upon Ms. McDonald and Mr. Dyer. That's why you were looking at me like that, eh, Craig? Gotcha. To introduce the report, and we'll allow for any questions and discussion after that. So please proceed.
Great, thank you. And through the chair, our quarterly reporting process provides Council with an update on our shared accomplishments and challenges from the past quarter as we work to implement our 2022 plan and budget. We continue to make significant progress on key objectives to meet the evolving needs of our community. There are in-depth updates in the report. However, I wanted to share a few key highlights from the past few months. One was the opening of the Market Trail, a walk-cycle path that extends from Waterloo to Woolwich and connects to the Ion, which has become immensely popular with our residents. The hiring of the region's first Director of Truth and Reconciliation, Paula Whitlow. Evaluating public health work, specifically the Public Health Peer Program, through a trauma and violence-informed care lens in partnership with the African Community Wellness Initiative. The accreditation of Sunnyside Home as a Level 1 outstanding care home in the Butterfly Approach to Care, making Sunnyside one of the highest rated homes in Canada. Adding site infrastructure for automated speed enforcement to 2 additional locations on Elgin Street in Cambridge and Laurelwood in Waterloo, which brings the number of locations in the region up to 16, and opening the Debajumoan exhibit, Stories from This Land, at the Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum, which highlights the Indigenous contributions to the history of this land and creates an opportunity to explore the power of culture and understand a deep connection to the land as told through local Indigenous voices. As we move forward, we continue to surface challenges related to the ongoing impact of the pandemic, pressures on the economy and community growth. We also continue to address talent attraction and retention challenges. However, I'm pleased to report that we remain on track with minimal deviation from the plan. I want to take a moment to thank Council, staff, and our partners for all of their work in making these accomplishments possible. And I'll now turn it over to my colleague Craig to provide a financial update.
Thank you, Connie, and through you, Madam Chair. Included in the report is a financial update as of the end of the third quarter of this year, and I would describe our financial progress, if you will, over the course of the year as follows. We originally reported back in the spring a projected deficit. You may recall we had an estimate of around $5 million, predominantly due to a number of non-tax revenues that were trending lower at the time. That position improved by the time we got to mid-year, took us to about a break-even position. And as outlined in today's report, we're projecting, a relatively small year-end surplus on the tax-supported side, as well as surpluses with respect to the water and wastewater budgets. And I would say that, predominantly what's changed since the spring, like over the last 4 or 5 months, is we've seen a few of our significant non-tax revenues improve significantly. One with respect to Grand River Transit fare revenue, as the ridership has improved, the fare revenue has improved along with it. We've also seen some, for a number of months over the year, a very strong market for the recycled goods that we sell on the open market. Those prices have moderated somewhat since, but have certainly contributing to an improved position with respect to this year. Water and wastewater, again, both projecting surplus positions. Flows on the water side definitely higher than we had budgeted. Wastewater, fairly modest projection right now of less than $1 million. But overall, a financial projection that has gradually improved over the course of the year. And as we head into the last 2 months of this year, I'm confident that we'll end up with a modest surplus at year end. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, so I'm looking to see if there are any comments, questions, concerns. Seeing none, well, I guess you've answered it all. Thank you for that, both of you. So that being said, we'll look to, we'll look to, sorry. Kim, are you going to move into this report? Okay, then please proceed.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. If you could move the slide forward, please. Thank you. The Region of Waterloo staff were asked to conduct a review of post-service benefits for councillors. And in conducting this review, we took a look at current benefit entitlement. We also did a jurisdictional scan, as well as looked at some options for consideration in consultation with our current carrier, Sun Life. As a reminder, councillors receive the following benefits: life insurance, health, dental, and out-of-province coverage. The region pays 100% for these current benefits, and at this point in time, there are no post-council benefits available. When we looked at our jurisdictional review, what we determined was that if you want to keep going, sorry, with the slides, my apologies, keep going. Jurisdictional scan, thank you. When we looked at the jurisdictional review, what we did note was that there does not appear to be any standard with regards to post-service benefits for councillors. In fact, there's quite a few different approaches as listed on that particular slide. If you can move forward, please. We also took a look at approaches in the context of premiums, and we explored 3 options. Option 1 was that the region would pay full premiums for post-service regional councillor benefits. Option 2 would be a sharing of those premiums at a 50-50 split. And option 3 would be that councillors would cover their own benefits post-service. We also took a look at some of the design components. We again looking at premium share, looking at qualification criteria. At what point would people be qualified in the context of post-service benefits? We looked at, should there be termination criteria? And we also looked at what kind of benefits should be considered. And these are just options that we explored to think about how we would build a plan if that is the direction. We're here today to seek Council's direction in the context of 2 options. One would be to move forward and design a post-service benefit plan for Council. And while we're developing that plan, we would ensure that the current benefits continue, until the plan is completely finished and developed. Or we continue with status quo, that's option 2. We would, in which case councillors who are completing their service would have the ability to convert current benefits to individual plan with the current carrier. I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If there's no questions, I would like to move option 1 and then with a slight amendment and then speak to it if I can get a seconder. I'll let you know what it is first. Okay. So I noticed staff put up the report there with the 3 different options and then it was truncated down into 2. And I'm referring to the report 22-003. And the language in there is design and implement, as we saw on the screen, a post-service benefit plan and working with the region's insured benefit carrier. And then bullet 2 was Region of Waterloo to extend current benefits to past service counselors pending the setup of a new plan. So I would just like to amend that the first bullet, delete design and implement, delete design and simply have implement a post-service continuous benefit plan with the region's insured benefit carrier to provide benefits equal to the same level and no greater than the benefits currently received by counselors and future counselors, and to be eligible, minimum of 6 years of service and 55 years of age. If I can get a seconder to that, I'll speak to it briefly, Madam Chair.
Apologize, looking to see who's going to second it. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong, much appreciated. Continue.
Yeah, thank you. So I just a couple of comments, and I know there's other councillors who'd like to talk about this as well. I guess one of the things is that, you know, it's unusual for us to be dealing with this now. Typically, we have a councillors' compensation committee that is struck, and for every reason, in the hurly-burly of all the activities in the last couple of years, dealing with all the issues we've been dealing with, that was missed, and we didn't strike the councillors' compensation committee. And one of the items that we would have definitely referred to the councillors' compensation review committee would have been this question of benefits. And when you look at the scan that staff did, this is not precedent setting. Many municipalities in Ontario have extended health benefits for councillors. The provincial legislature requires 6 years of service, and then at 55 years of age, you're eligible for benefits. The federal government has similar plans in place to be eligible for continuation of benefits. So this isn't something that's outside of the norm when it comes to elected officials and the continuation of benefits. I know there might be something raised about whether or not we're able to do this because of lame duck provisions, and I would say that the Act isn't entirely clear. There's no set time frame on what would be considered the amount of money that you could spend in any given year. Of course, can't be greater than $50,000. But that's usually recognized in one budget year, and it's not clear within the Municipal Act about the time span. So I think that, you know, in our ability to do this, I think is within the spirit of those lame duck provisions contained within the Municipal Act. So I don't think we're overstepping our jurisdiction here. I would also like to point out that today, through our bylaw, with the CAO, we approved approximately $10 million in capital expenditures. Just, you know, it's through the purchasing bylaw and the CAO's ability to do that, but we received it for information. So $10 million has been spent effectively on our watch. So I don't think that there's much of a concern around our ability to pass this. I'd also like to point out when we're doing this kind of environmental scan that our colleagues in Guelph just recently voted themselves a 25% pay increase. That's not something that we're considering. We're considering putting something into place to look after the health and welfare of our fellow councillors past their service time, past the age of 55, and reflective of the service they provided to the region of Waterloo over their tenure, which is keeping a pace with many other municipalities and other governments in the country and province. So with that, I'm interested in hearing from my colleagues and what other suggestions and or comments they may make. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Strickland. So I look to the room to see if there are any hands up. Thank you. Councillor Jaworski, please proceed.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Strickland, for bringing this up. One thing I want to mention, though, there's been a massive change at the efforts of this council this term. I think we can all remember 2020 and 2021 and 2022 a heck of a lot better than whatever we did in years 5 and 6 before that. And the Board of Health in our term of 2014 to 2018 might have met once or twice, but it meant an uncountable number of times this past term. And so my suggestion was I'll put an amendment on the floor of to be after one full term of service, to really represent there's a massive change in what this council had to deal with, and staff as well, but this council had to deal with relative to the what we would normally do in a normal term of council. I think this is a very inclusive amendment, and I do think public health issues are on the table now and in the forefront forever, really, and next council will have to deal with it. And the reality is that you kind of mentioned this will all come out in the wash, so to speak, eventually, this entire thing, because to the clerks and to Ms. Bellissimo, you know, I think council remuneration review is probably due or overdue, quite honestly. If we look at what has been comparable in other municipalities where we've seen tens of thousands of dollars in change in the salary remuneration of other local councils nearby. And so when the council remuneration review comes into play, they will take into account this decision of today in terms of choosing or setting council salaries or recommending council salaries for the future. And I would say, I think that the next term of council or the one thereafter, certainly I hope they are better paid, quite honestly, and I've seen that in other local ones. And I will add one thought to staff. The presentation, and I realize this is just more for accounting terms, but the presentation outlines 2 categories of benefits, single and family, in the order of $2,000 and in the order of $6,000. In a call I had with Sun Life, they did mention essentially couples, partners insurance for 2 people, and I think just for accounting purposes, it's easier for maybe the region just to look at single and multiple, but in fact there's probably a quote less cost sweet spot if you account for the fact there aren't a lot of us getting kids braces put on in the next few years, or at least that's not on my agenda. So anyway, I just thought I'd add that as an amendment after one full term of service to be considered.
Thank you, Councillor Jaworski. Before we continue, I'm looking for a seconder for that amendment, please. Thank you, Councillor McGarry. Councillor Foxton, you're up.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This is a tough one, guys, because I would love to have benefits for life, but I think we all would. And I understand that a lot of the councillors are leaving this year, but is this the economy to be doing this in? When we're looking at, and I guess, Sean, what you were saying is it's really basically small change in the whole gamut of the budget, but it's an ongoing hit forever, and the number of retiring councillors each year puts a further burden onto it. I'm really torn by this. A part of me wants to support it, and another part of me says, do I want to support it because I want to take care of me? And then I have to weigh in the public. And how many public get benefits for life? How do I justify it for me when I can't justify it for the public? I'm really torn by this. I really, really am. I don't know. And also, the lame duck plays on my mind too, as we're adding this a small financial burden onto the next council. So I wait to hear further discussion for other councillors to convince me, because I'm not convinced yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foxton. Councillor Kiefer.
Can you hear me?
Councillor.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to support the motion. It was mentioned before that there is no standard around the province, and I see this as an opportunity for this council to make a difference and to present something that not just this council but future council will have as a benefit. Pardon the pun. I think my colleagues, Councillor Strickland and Councillor Jaworski, laid out very good points and situations as to why this would be an opportune time to do this. I believe it is myself. My humble 31 years experience in municipal politics tells me that something like this would be beneficial to attract future councillors to the table. It's no secret that more and more municipalities, as was mentioned earlier, around the province are going to, this type of thing, or enhanced benefits, lifetime benefits. Plus, I believe it was the City of Guelph just introduced or announced that they were going up 25% in salary. They said nothing about benefits, but the salary. And this is a reality. I mean, you want to call it cost of doing business or doing good business? I think it's cost of doing good business. My colleagues and around this table and colleagues before me, and have done an outstanding job. Waterloo Region is a leading place to, an instrumental place, I should say, to be, because they're leaders. And this is an opportunity right here, folks, to step up to the plate and be leaders. And yeah, we're going to benefit from it, but so will others. And you can't measure some of this in dollars and cents. So although a lot of people will measure it in dollars and cents, I believe that this is a situation where we need to act upon it. And like I said, I'm going to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiefer. And Councillor Erb, you're up next.
Thank you. I have a question first of staff. How are staff treated after X number of years? Are they eligible to buy benefits? Is there some similarity what's being proposed here for council members, or how are staff treated?
Through you, Madam Chair. So staff who are under 65 and retire would have benefits. Staff who are 65 and older would not have benefits once they retire.
And what's the cost sharing mechanism?
So if you're under 65 and you retire, you do not contribute up until 65.
After 65, they would then have the option of the second.
After 65, they can convert to an individual plan with Sun Life or another carrier.
At 100% of the cost?
They would have to pay 100% premium.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councillor McGarry.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm going to support the motion for several reasons. Number one, there's many in the public who tend to target politicians at any level, at whether it's full-time or part-time salary, and in reality, staff get paid much more over the time that we're looking at. And I think of myself, the committee to look at council and remuneration and benefits happened before I took office in 2018. And yet I look around at my senior management team and they all earned, at least another double what I did. So it's easy for the public to take aim at politicians when in reality, we look at this last term of council, and for myself as mayor, my full-time position is at mayor and part-time is at region. And what happened in March 2020, it became unbelievably hugely busy for the region. That became our more than full-time work, plus everything else. So I really appreciate Councillor Jaworski's opinion on how much we did put in. But in reality, people give up to go into public service. There's those of us in professional lives that have to give up their registration. Myself being a registered nurse, after 3 years, I'm no longer considered a practicing registered nurse. So in my first term of public service, I lost the ability to go back to full-time nursing unless I went back to school for a long period of time. So that's one thing you give up. And the next that you give up from the provincial level, there's no pensions from that aspect. And there were two situations when I was in government where one was a Conservative member and another was a long-time Liberal member who had no pensions, and they ran out of the money at the end of their lives, and both of them committed suicide. They each had wives that they were unable to support in long-term care, and it was uncanny. Their letters at the end were that they had no more options. And that's just a dire kind of consequence of what some people face when they've had a lifetime of public service. So I'm going to support the motion. I think it's time that we properly remunerate our politicians, and that we give them some dignity at the end of their career and look to what they've given up in order to step forward to do a life of public service. And I also think that these are the kinds of things that people are looking for to see if they can give things up in order to enter. So if we're looking for good candidates in the future at any level of government, we really do have to remunerate them to the point where we've got good candidates and that they feel they can give up some of their work in order to enter a life of public service. So I will support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGarry. I'm looking, Chair Redmond, are you seat 12? Because you're next.
Thank you. I moved over, so I didn't have the button right behind my computer because I kept not finding it. I guess, first of all, I want to say that my approach to this is not a value statement on any of my colleagues around this horseshoe or any former colleagues. And for me, it's an issue of timing. And this isn't the first time I've been elected. It's not the first time for many of us. And I know during every mandate, we review the remuneration and the benefits. And I think that there is room to review the remuneration and benefits, but I would like to see community input. I would like to see a rigorous discussion much more broadly than just benefits. For me, it's the fact that this is something we would be doing for the current council, because in my experience, you always did something that you moved it forward. And I understand people have talked about the fact that this will benefit future councillors who have not yet been elected. And while I appreciate that, it's being part of a lame duck period, and it's the fact that this is something we'd be doing for ourselves. I would certainly support benefits continuing for council members who wanted to pay for it completely. And I would also support a more rigorous look at benefits. And I don't know, and Ms. Bellissimo, I don't know if you can comment on this. I don't know if it's possible for a future council to make something retroactive. But to me, it would be a much cleaner process. And so I don't know if you want to answer that.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that would be possible.
And I guess the other issue for me, and I guess I would look to the mover, Councillor Strickland, to say, are you intending for these to be benefits for life?
Yes, from age 55 on, yes. In keeping with other programs for elected officials across the country and in Ontario.
So I would just say that the sticking point for me, and again, it's not a value judgment of my colleagues, it's the timing, it's the fact that we're lame duck, and the fact that we, by voting on this, would benefit ourselves. So I can't support this motion in the form that it's been put forward.
Thank you. Councillor Kiefer.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to add that could we have a recorded vote on the motion, please?
Most definitely. Thank you for that. Councillor Verbanovic.
Thank you very much, Chair Jowett, and been listening to the conversation of my colleagues. And as like Chair Redmond, I have obviously immense respect for everyone that sits around the horseshoe. I've dedicated much of my life to public service. However, I think there's a time and a place to deal with everything in a process. And for me, there's a couple of things that make the timing right now not the right time to be dealing with this. It's my understanding, in fact, that the lame duck provisions do prevail in this instance. So that, number one, creates some difficulty for me in terms of dealing with it. Secondly, my experience has been in successive councils is the way and the time to deal with this has been through a citizens committee that does the work, does the analysis between different municipalities, brings forward recommendations to council, and then council has a vigorous debate on it. To see one of the last actions of this committee and of this council to be something that would ultimately impact this council is something that in its present form I can't support either. I can support the idea of people being able to personally pay for those benefits and continue them in that manner. I can support a committee to do an analysis of it and to report back to a future council. But as it's presented right now, I regretfully can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Verbenek. I'm looking around and I'm not seeing any other hands up. Go ahead then, Mr. Lochner.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Just before you call the question, can we make sure we have the attributes correctly captured?
Sorry?
We want to make sure we have the attributes of the plan correctly captured
Okay.
just before the motion.
I think, Julie, is there something you can present? Oh, I don't think I did. Jim, sorry about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead,
I have difficulty with the timing of this at the 11th hour. It may, be something that that can be considered. However, for me, the timing just doesn't feel right. And I would support, and I don't want to suggest a deferral or a referral, but based on Ms. Bellissimo's response, my understanding is this could be referred to the compensation committee that might be able to meet in 2023 and come forth with a recommendation. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I'd be prepared to support it for discussions further on that may benefit council members that are retiring now, but at this point, I'm not prepared to support the recommendation.
So we have an original motion and we have an amended motion, and we have the decline of the original motion sitting on the table. I'm pretty sure somewhere they would have taught us that this is probably not the best approach. However, we'll continue. Mr. Lochner, do you have some points you'd like to make?
No, just the clarification.
Okay, so, okay, wow. So, Councillor Galway, please.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a horse in this race because I do have lifetime benefits from a previous employer. Except for one major program area, like most. The same as, I would remind people that the police do have lifetime benefits. So it's not unique, but in any event, if this motion is defeated, is it possible that individuals could then go to option 3? Could option 3 be made available? Where those people who wouldn't be me, because I have lifetime benefits, but who could take advantage of, at no cost to the taxpayer, of continuing on in the program.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Galway. I believe Councillor Strickland, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted, the staff had put up the resolution. I just wondered if you wanted me to make just kind of wordsmith that a little bit. So implement post-service continuous benefits plan. So implement a post-service benefits and then a post-service, that part needs to be deleted. A post-service continuous benefit plan with the region's insured benefit carrier to provide benefits the same level, no greater than currently received by councillors, future councils with 6 years. And then it's amended to 4, right? So I would suggest that, you know, to expedite it, if it's up to the mover and seconder, I think Les seconded it, that we would take that as a friendly amendment. So it's
Fair
one
enough.
full term of service, and then call the question, and then we can deal with it from there.
All right, much appreciated.
Yeah. Bruce got a question, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lochner, and then
Sorry,
we'll proceed.
thank you. I believe the words were for life because that was another decision point. So it's 55 and then for life.
A continuous benefit plan, so that's implying life. Post-service continuous benefit plan. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarity. Councillor Foxton.
Through you, Chair, if by chance this is defeated and we do a review in 2023, could we also state in that the review that whatever decision will be, the retiring councillors will be included in that decision?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, we could make it retroactive.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're going to proceed on the first then. So that motion has accepted the amendment in writing here. It has been made and seconded. So I'm going to call the question on a recorded vote, please. Tim.
Thank you. Chair Redmond?
Opposed.
Councillor Vrbanovic? Councillor Jaworski?
In favor.
Sorry. Sorry, Councillor Jaworski, you were in favor? In favor. Councillor Clark?
Opposed.
Councillor Lorenz? Councillor Jowett?
In favor.
Councillor Erb? Councillor Nowak? Councillor Kiefer?
In favor.
Councillor McGarry?
In favor.
Councillor Armstrong?
In favor.
Councillor Harris?
In favor.
Councillor Shantz?
Opposed.
Councillor Strickland?
In favor.
Councillor Foxton?
Opposed.
Councillor Galloway?
Opposed.
I have 9 in favor, 7 opposed.
So I appreciate that, and I did keep my voice to myself, but I couldn't really get in and repeat all of the things that were discussed, but I'm very much in favor of this here and now because I was part of the committee that came forward once before I was elected to make recommendation to this council, and I feel disappointed, to be honest, because quite frankly, we are the most accessible level of government, and that was never more clear than during COVID, number one. Number two, this council works tirelessly, and they can choose to be part-time, or they thought they could, but I've not yet seen anyone in this council being able to work successfully with a full-time job as well as do this one. So that being said, if not now, I know it feels like we have our cap in hand, but regardless of that, if not now, then when? We need to ensure that we attract the best and brightest to represent our community. So in my opinion, I am happy to end my days here playing an HR role yet again. So thank you to everyone around the table. I guess we'll continue on with the schedule, right? So that's that. It has been moved, it has been seconded, and we are done. So I'm looking for an adjournment. So motion to adjourn. Councillor Kiefer, Councillor McGarry, and all those in favor, because it's party time. Thanks, everyone. No, we don't have to.
We have 2 meetings left.
2 meetings, ratification, right?